Fighting out of the blue corner, we have Hunter Walking Eagle.
Oh, I thought this was fight.
And Hunter Walking Eagle coming in now at 24 years old and 6'3", 185 pounds. He comes in with a record of 12-6. He is 22 years old. I apologize. Brockton, Montana, the scrap pack, and Brady's going to run over. He's actually cornering for his opponent, who will be here in the ring in just a moment. That's Brad Chaos Klepperich. He comes in at 6'1" and 185 pounds. Record of 12-2 out of Sheridan, Wyoming. With the Harbor Combat Gym down there, and the owner of Fusion Fight League going to step in and grab the mic there for a little bit. Hopefully you won't get to a point, Sarah, where you have to drop the mic on me before the night gets over. But pretty good event here today, huh?
Yeah, everything's going smooth. I mean, we got things off and running good. Staff's doing what they need to do, and we're going to enjoy a good night of fights.
Well, the first two fights a little bit quick.
Yep.
But in both of those things, and I think that's one of the things about MMA that. One of the great things about it, yes, you can end up, thinking you're going to have 10 or 11 or 12 fights. They're all going to go, 9 or 10 minutes. It could take quite a while, but that's the thing. As we've seen in those first two fights, yeah, it might go 3 rounds of 3 minutes, but you better not run and get your popcorn either, because you might miss it.
Klepperich.
No, absolutely. And, we always have a couple of preliminary fights at the beginning of the night, get things started off and get some of the newer fighters a chance to get in here and get some experience. But this one's going to be a great fight. Great records here. You got Hunter Walking Eagle with a 12-6 record versus Brad Klepperich with a 12-2 record. Both guys have been in some really, really good scraps. Hunter Walking Eagle has a tremendous triangle, has hit a lot of people with it. Brad Klepperich, good, well-rounded fighter, strong wrestler, very strong wrestler. Should be a lot of fun to watch.
Well, we've seen in these first two fights tonight how important it is to have multiple disciplines in MMA. It isn't like boxing or just wrestling or just jiu-jitsu or any of those kinds of things. There are lots of ways that you could win or lose an MMA fight, and you do have to be cognizant of all of those things at any given point, because you never know. And there certainly were a couple of times in that previous fight where it looked like Carson was getting the upper hand, but all of a sudden, Zindler gets him to triangle, he gets him down, he gets him in the armbar, and that's it, it's over.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. And he did not tap. It was an amateur fight. It was only his second fight. The referee said that the elbow got hyperextended 3 times really good, and after that third time, just wasn't going to let him take any more punishment.
Three strikes, you're out, kind of. And certainly, in both of these, they've been quick. But boy, oh boy, there has been some action in the short amount of time that they're actually in the ring. And I certainly wouldn't expect anything less than that here in our third fight.
Oh, yeah, and there's big Brad Klepperich making his way into the cage.
Welcome to the cage, our Fusion Fight Girl, Deidre, as well as the belt, because this is a 185-pound title fight tonight.
So our first title fight, it is an amateur fight, but it is nevertheless a title fight tonight at 185 pounds. This particular match tonight brought to you by K2 Spas and Sports, so we want to make sure we get the thank yous to the sponsors in there and make sure that they can continue to allow us to put these on and put them on the air. An exciting night for you, I would imagine, tonight, Tara, with the first time going out over the air on FusionFightLeague.com.
The 185-pound title fight tonight is brought to you by K2 Spas. K2 Spas and Sports, specializing in big kid fun. Whether it's relaxing in a hot tub or exercising in a new power pool swim spa, K2 Spas and Sports can help turn your backyard into the oasis of your dreams. Or maybe your definition of big kid fun is an awesome game room. K2 Spas and Sports has a great selection of Brunswick pool tables, foosball, ping pong, shuffleboard, and poker tables. Jim and Carrie Kane have been providing big kid fun for over 20 years, so be sure to stop in to K2 Spas and Sports in the Heights. In this title fight tonight, fighting out of the blue corner, representing the Scrap Pack in Brockton, Montana, with a record of 12-6, 6 feet 3 inches tall, it's Hunter, the Sioux Warrior Walking Eagle! And fighting out of the red corner with a record of 12-2, 6 feet 1 inches tall, representing the Harbor Combat Club out of Sheridan, Wyoming, it's Brad Chaos Klepperich!
So our ring announcer will come step out, and our referee is going to change for this fight. It is going to be Zach Unruh, who will be the referee in this one. Hopefully he will be able to do what I imagine referees would always hope to do, and that's basically stay out of the way.
Oh, yeah. Zach does a great job. He's been with us for a long time now. He's fought amateur and professional, was our 135 professional title holder, dominant fighter for a long time. Really knows the game. He's trained in stand-up striking, Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, good all-around fighter. Knows the fighters real well.
He will go over and check the door, make sure that nobody's going to fall out of the ring. I did get early on the instructions earlier that specifically told not to throw anyone out of the ring, but obviously you want to make sure nobody ends up accidentally going out either.
Nope, that's what the cage is for. Cage keeps everybody safe. And good clinch work against the fence right now. Brad's going to put some weight and pressure on him. See how Hunter reacts.
And Hunter trying to get out of there, but Klepperich doing a nice job keeping the pressure on, keeping him pinned up against the edge of the cage there and trying to gain his advantage. Looks like maybe trying to get him on the ground where he can really go to work.
Yep. Well, and they both have very good ground games. It's just a big challenge of how you get there. That's a big part of the action.
And Klepperich landing a couple good shots there to Walking Eagle's the right side of his face. You can see the strain that Walking Eagle's putting on his arm there is that left arm really flexing out. And you can see just what kind of athletes these guys are.
Hunter is known for standing in the middle of the cage and taking a little bit of punishment and saying, hey, give me your best shot, I can take it.
Well, he's taking some right now as Klepperich getting in there trying to get him on the ground, but he landed a couple of nice body shots and one to the chin there before he got him up against the cage.
I think it's pretty obvious Brad wants to get this to the ground.
And Walking Eagle now up against that door over there that I was just talking about. See, if you hadn't made sure you latched that thing, they might have gone tumbling out of the ring there, Terrell. And you certainly don't want that.
Nope. Cages are built for safety. They keep the fighters contained, so they're not falling through ring ropes. And
Klepperich getting him on the ground now, but Walking Eagle giving him everything he's got.
He's got a good setup for an omoplata there. If he can just make the corner, he can get that omoplata.
But you can see Klepperich bleeding from looks like above his left eye, so he is probably been the aggressor in this fight thus far, but he's also taken some punishment, no question about that.
Absolutely. These guys both came to bring it.
Klepperich got him tied up, but now he's going to be stuck.
Hunter's working for that triangle that he's so famous for, and he's known for it. Big, long legs. We'll see if he can... No, he's looking for the go-go plata.
He's trying to get him hooked.
Oh, he's
get that shoulder there. Gain the
looking
advantage from the ground.
Looking for an armbar. Brad's going to shake him up. We'll see how Hunter's open guard is.
Both these guys really fighting hard in this one. We're getting on towards the end of round number one. Here would be the first fight this evening to go more than one round, but neither one of these guys going down without a fight. There's no question about that.
Absolutely. Brad really needs to get his posture established here right now. It'd be nice for him to drop his hips down and get his head up. That's what he needs to do.
And they're going to have to work on him very quickly in between rounds here because his bleeding, it looks like from above his eye and maybe from his nose as well, but quite a bit of blood in the ring and on both fighters at the moment. You see Klepperich been on top through most of this first round, but boy, if you look at the two of them at the end of the round, I'm not sure you'd believe that Klepperich isn't the one who's losing.
And there we go.
That is round one, and the first title fight of the night presented by K2 Spas and Sports.
I guess you see in that one, Terrell, why it is that, this is a title fight, and both of these guys certainly coming in, and far more action in that one, really going both ways. I don't know.
Welcoming Deidre back to the cage.
If you look at Klepperich over there, you would, if you hadn't watched the first round, I think you would probably look at him and think that he'd kind of gotten the raw end of that. But the fact of the matter is, he was throwing at least as many, if not more, punches in that one than Walking Eagle was. But for whatever reason, just the way it worked out, he's the one bleeding.
Yep, and you know, I mean, that is one factor. You always have to take into account damage. Which fighter is receiving the majority of the damage, but also, you know, who's putting up the submission
If you
attempt.
missed any of that action from the first half, the Napa instant replay on the big screens as we speak.
Well, we saw in those first 2 fights of the night, Terrell, that just because it looks like somebody seems to be winning, it's not like boxing where you can eventually point somebody to death and be Lennox Lewis and stand back there and just run all night long. It's not going to work.
Yeah, and that's one of the things, people that are experienced MMA viewers, they understand that, the person who's on top is not necessarily always winning. The person who's on bottom is not necessarily always losing. There's a lot more to it than that.
Well, that's one of the things I think that is so cool about MMA is that, there are so many disciplines that go into it. And especially, both of these guys have had double-digit fights. Klepperich at 12-2, Walking Eagle coming in at 12-6. So, both of them with 12 wins under their belt, both of them well over 500 in their careers. They're used to winning. And
with Montana's an interesting area because you get some fighters that don't have the opportunity to get into good quality gyms because they live in very remote areas. Hunter's one of those guys. Brad, he comes from a good wrestling background. He's been working out of Harbor Combat out of Sheridan, Wyoming. Very good jiu-jitsu program there, but he comes from a wrestling route, and that's really where he's at. But they're in here getting experience and making a run at things. And then you can have gyms in Montana that turn out some of the top fighters in the world that make it to the Ultimate Fighter and Bellator and even Invicta, places like that.
So the fighters back out for the beginning of round 2. A couple good shots both ways there as Klepperich trying to get up in the air. And you could see in that first round, Terrell, he really, that wrestling background you were talking about, definitely wants to take advantage of that and get him on the ground.
Yeah, but did you notice that Brad just did a really good job checking that right leg kick from Hunter?
Well, I imagine if Hunter actually gets that big 6'3" frame, a couple good shots there both ways.
Big head kick. I heard it go smack from over here.
Didn't seem like it really did a whole lot of damage, though. If anything, it looks like maybe it just made Klepperich angry, and he said, okay, I'm just going to get inside. We can go right back to where we were in the first round.
It might have rang his bell, and he might be kind of recovering a little bit right here,
That could be, too.
But Brad's going back to work on that leg. He's doing a really good job. For a wrestler, Brad's working his stand-up, too. He's checking kicks. He's throwing good knee strikes. He's going to wear him down. It's going to be pretty hard. If Hunter keeps taking those leg shots like that, keeps taking those knees to the inner thigh, it's going to make it hard for him to work his stand-up game. Also make it hard for him to close that triangle later on.
Well, it certainly looks like early on in this one, that's what Walking Eagle wants to do. He wants to use that reach advantage and especially those leg kicks. And you saw it there a couple moments ago where he landed a nasty shot to the left side of Klepperich's head there. But Klepperich still in there, and at this point probably having recovered from that. Both guys in there grappling, though, and they're certainly trying to land some inside shots, wear them down, because eventually all that's going to take a toll.
Yep, clinch fighting. That's part of the fun of MMA. Seeing, that's a very good battle going on in the clinch. And that can make the difference between a good fighter and a great fighter.
And keep in mind, because this is a title fight, not the ordinary amateur 3 rounds for this one, it will be a 5-round, or it could be as much as a 5-round bout. So the wear and tear that these guys are taking in both directions right now going to add up over the course of 15 minutes in that ring.
Yep. Brad's not going to want to stay in there forever with his head down like that, though. I mean, both fighters are putting in a lot of work right now. But
that's one of the things you never know. And Brady and I were talking about that in those first couple of fights, that it's sometimes a little bit deceiving when you just look at body types and think, oh, well, okay, this guy's probably going to be able to persevere a little bit better if this one goes deeper into the fight. Obviously, with title fights and 5 rounds, could go quite a bit deeper. But you're right. The grind that is being in the clinch like that, and Walking Eagle has been basically on top this entire round, but far more shots being landed by Klepperich underneath there. Not as easy to see, but they're doing their damage.
Yep. And they're working hard enough.
10 seconds.
They're working hard enough that the referee doesn't want to break them up, but got to let the fight work its way out.
Well, it doesn't look to me in this one that either guy's particularly had a huge
advantage. That's the end of round 2 in this fight, brought to you by K2 Spas and Sports.
That makes it harder to judge when both fighters are there and they're both putting in damage. You just got to look and see who's the most active.
Deidre,
our fusion fight girl, Terrell, which way do you go on that
one? Thank you to City Tan for keeping all of our fusion fight girls tan and looking ready for the fight.
But I would give that edge. Brad was doing definitely the more damage, I think, with those leg shots up against the cage. Hunter was throwing good shots, but Hunter also got that really big head kick that was pretty impressive. And so that weighs heavily, too.
early on in the round. And then, both guys, there wasn't as much movement in that round, but you're right. Basically back in the corner over there, but both guys doing work inside. And Walking Eagle coming over the top much more, so landing a little bit sort of longer punches and doing some damage to the sides of Klepperich's head. But all of those leg kicks underneath, or the knees to the inner thigh underneath, certainly going to take their toll, especially because Walking Eagle very clearly wants to use that reach and extend, and you saw why. I mean, when he lands that leg kick, or when he lands that high kick to the side of the head, I don't care who you are, that's doing some damage.
Well, and those big
Corners out.
And it's not as much.
We are seconds away from the final round of this 100, not the final round, but we're seconds away from round number 3 in this 5-round bout. The 185-pound title on the line.
Yep, and me, opinions vary a little bit, but I like it when the referee doesn't interfere too much with the match. If nobody's doing anything, if positions aren't changing and no damage is being done, absolutely break them, reset them, let them go again. But as long as people are working, let the fighters do their fight. And I like to see how it ends up with as little possible referee intervention.
Well, I imagine that's probably the case for most referees, and certainly for both of these guys, for Zach and for Jeff both. They would prefer to let the fighters fight, and they would like to stay out of it as much as they possibly can. Certainly Zach's done a great job in this one, in what has been an eventful fight, and one that, frankly, there's been times when it could have gone either way for both guys.
Looks like they're going to end up back against the fence again. Brad does not want to stand and trade with Hunter.
No, and I think, if he had any question about that coming into this one, I think that kick to the side of the head will remind him, that reach advantage, if you get inside, you can kind of neutralize that a little bit, but if you don't.
Well, and Hunter was doing a good job working his jab a little bit there, so, keeping him at range.
An interesting contrast in styles, it seems like, in this one, though, because Walking Eagle clearly wanting to move out away, and like you were talking earlier, he wants to be out in the middle of the ring and able to use the advantages that he has, whereas Klepperich clearly wanting to get inside, use those wrestling skills you were talking about earlier.
Well, Hunter's starting to figure it out. He's starting to circle off and not let Brad put him against the cage. It looks like Hunter's cardio is doing a little bit better, and Brad's starting to look a little bit winded in there, and I think that could make a difference over the long haul.
But you certainly get the sense that Klepperich, I think you're right, wanting to get this over. Obviously, both guys would love to get it over and get the win regardless. But
these are big motors to keep going for 5 rounds.
They are. No, there's no question about it. This is a 185-pound title fight, so among the bigger fighters that we will see this evening. And
this show does feature a lot of smaller fighters. Plus, we have so many women's fights on this card. We have 4 women's fights, 2 amateur women's fights, and 2 professional women's fights.
Oh, wicked
that
shot
was a...
And Walking Eagle doing a nice job using that reach, getting in there and landing some wicked blows to Klepperich's head. But Klepperich getting in there, tying him up on the ropes or on the cage again, trying to get him down on the ground. And Walking Eagle has done a fantastic job thus far, keeping those legs spread and preventing Klepperich from doing what he clearly wants to do.
Well, and both fighters are working right now. Actually, I think in some ways the person leaning against the fence is, he's working very hard because he's avoiding that takedown, doesn't want to get taken to the ground, so he's not relaxing leaning up against that cage fence. But, sometimes Brad gets a little bit more because he's just putting his body weight on him. He's not working quite as hard when he's going to dig in and try and get that takedown. He's also just taking those little shots here and there.
He is taking some punishment up against the cage. He clearly is willing to take it because he keeps pushing. We got 10 seconds left in the 3rd round here. And Klepperich trying to continue to do that damage, but you're right, he has taken some nasty shots to the back.
They made it through 3 rounds here. 185-pound title on the line.
And very clean break there, good sportsmanship going all the way around.
Well, one of the things, I know you make a big deal out of sportsmanship, and certainly something that the fans do come out to see, no question about it. And in one of the earlier fights with Austin Carson, he clearly was not happy with the decision of Jeff Hoiby to stop that one. But I think it is important to note he was frustrated. He understood why the decision was made, but he went and shook hands with the referee. And I thought maybe most impressive, even at 20 years old, he then went over to Mikey and gave him a fist bump before they both left the ring. A classy move from a 20-year-old kid.
Always a lot of sportsmanship here in the cage. And you know, had this been a professional fight, referee would have let that go. It's the fighter's responsibility to tap out. But when you're dealing with amateurs, especially when they don't have a very big record, very much experience, you know, it's not like there's a $60,000 contract on the line or anything. These guys got to go to work, got to go to school, things like that on Monday.
No question about it. And, you know, it's something that, you know, you don't always see in sports. You'd always like to see it in sports. But the fact is, you know, it doesn't always happen. And certainly, you know, MMA is still somewhat of a fledgling sport for a lot of folks out there. It's getting more and more mainstream.
Yep.
But, you know, a very important part of that for sure is that you got classy guys that are fighting.
Absolutely. I'm looking at these two fighters right here, and definitely Hunter has got more energy right now. He is emotionally more up. Brad seems like he's just tapering off a little bit, but there's that good inside leg kick from Brad. Definitely, they're going to trade a few leg kicks here. Hunter's circling. Hunter's doing a lot of circling because he does not want to get put up against that cage again. He's tired of being up against that cage wall.
Well, clearly it's frustrating him because he's not able to do what he wants to do. And clearly what he wants to do is not dance around the middle of the ring, but move around out there, use the advantages that he has to his advantage. And Brad's done a pretty good job of getting into doing that as he'll push him up against the cage once again. But you can see from the look on Hunter's face, he would prefer certainly not to be there, and he's trying to figure out how to get out of this. He's had 3 rounds to try and figure out how to get out of basically the same position. As these guys have spent a lot of time up against the cage, one side or the other, as we're partway through round 4.
Pushing somebody up against. Fighter lost his mouth guard. They were not working very hard, so they're going to go ahead and let him put that mouth guard. That was a show of sportsmanship right there, because Hunter recognized that his mouth guard was out and said something to the referee. Hey, he lost his mouth guard, and was willing to pause the action.
Probably helps a little bit that it also got him out of the corner.
Yeah, absolutely. Would not have been too bad for the referee to put him back in the same position and let him restart.
Klepperich with a nasty right hand.
Oh, Brad,
inside.
Hunter ate a good one right there. But he's game. He's wanting to go more. Brad's going to start throwing some punches. He must have some confidence in his striking game now. There we go. That's what I like to see. These guys
Walking Eagle getting in there and landing some nasty shots and doing a better and better job. You mentioned it a round and a half ago, Terrell. Kind of seems to be figuring it out. That Klepperich still trying to do what he clearly came in with the game plan to do, but he has not been tremendously effective. Hasn't been able to get Walking Eagle on the ground at all since the first round of the fight.
This is a long-term game plan. You know, if he keeps putting him up against the fence and keeps punishing those legs. Oh, he's got the ankle. That was a very interesting exchange there. Let's see what happens. Brad's going to keep that ankle, roll for position, and end up
on the ground
with a triangle attempt of his own. Oh, Hunter would not be happy to lose to a triangle, his own signature move. It's in deep, and there's the tap. Winner by triangle. That is phenomenal. That is a beautiful triangle put on by a classic wrestler. Lots of hard work being put in there. I know that his coach, Brady McLean, is going to be very happy with that, because Brady's been working his jiu-jitsu. Brady is a solid jiu-jitsu stylist.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, in the 185-pound title fight brought to you by K2 Spas and Sports, your winner by triangle choke and the new 185-pound champion, fighting out of the red corner, it's Brad Klepperich.
There you go.
I gotta say though, before we let Brad talk, that was a heck of a fight. Let's give it up for Hunter Walking Eagle as well. This guy put on a heck of a show. I'm gonna turn it over now. Let's talk to Brad here, our new champion.
Hunter is the most difficult opponent I have ever gone against. This guy is one tough SOB. Full credit goes to him.
Very good.
There you go. Full credit to both of them for their sportsmanship, and to your new 185-pound champion, Brad Chaos Klepperich.
That's what it's all about right there.